Hi, this is Sean O'Toole with Foreclosure Radar's California Foreclosure Report for March 2010. After declining most of the second half of 2009, foreclosure filings have been on the rise for the beginning of 2010. Notice of default filings up 3.7% to just over 32,000 filings in March, and notices of trustee sale up 17.5% to 33,000 and change. Now, year over year, notice of default filings are way down 45%. This is primarily because back last year around March, notices of default were catching up after being delayed by Senate Bill 1137 here in California, and we had a big wave of notices of default once trustees met the notice requirements in that law. Year over year, we had a huge increase in the number of properties sold at foreclosure auction. Now, part of that was an increase month over month. We're up 24% overall month over month. In foreclosure sales, 28% more going back to the bank, 11% more going to third parties. But the real big reason for the huge year over year increase is that a year ago we had voluntary moratoriums in place from all the major lenders due to the Home Affordable Modification Program first going into place, and most lenders agreed to postpone while that was getting underway. Now, the other thing that we saw go way up this month was cancellations. Cancellations are up 20%. Now, a lot of that increase is not due to loan mods and short sales, but instead it's due to the foreclosure timeframe expiring, requiring lenders to refile new notices of trustee sale, maybe part of the reason notice of trustee sale filings are up this month as well. Now, that said, about half of the cancellations still appear to be more than likely due to either loan mods or short sales. No way for us to tell for sure, but our half are kind of in that middle time frame where it's not due to a filing error and not due to expiration of the time frame. So that seems to have increased a bit as well. Now, taking a look at the foreclosure inventories, we actually see pre-foreclosure inventories up about 12%. Down 12% from a year earlier at around 157,000 properties that we estimate to be in the pre-foreclosure process. We do this estimate based on how long it takes to go from notice of default filing to notice of trustee sale filing. And even though notice of defaults weren't up a dramatic amount, and we saw a lot of notices of trustee sales, which should have dropped that number, the number went up. Why? Because it's taking longer to file those notices of trustee sales, up to 188 days from 142 days. Now over 6 months from notice of default to notice of trustee sale, the foreclosure delays are continuing. Those scheduled for sale, down just slightly, 2.5%. Basically, we're in sync here. New notices of trustee sale roughly matching the number of properties that are being sold and canceled. So we're staying fairly level. Number of properties scheduled for sale have been for a few months now. Same thing with the bank-owned properties. We had an increase in the properties going back to the bank this month, but we also had an increase in the number of properties, REOs, that were resold through the MLS and through other means. As we see some of these bank sales creep back up, a lot of focus on HOFA and short sales, REOs are still an important part of the market. 14,000, more than 14,000 last month in terms of REO sales. So don't forget about REOs as you start to work on your short sale plans. Now, taking a look at the discounts down at the auctions, it seems we may be getting to a point where the banks have extracted all they can from third-party investors. We're back up slightly to a 15.8% discount from fair market value on average on properties purchased by third parties. The ones that are going back to the bank on average have an opening bid 31% above fair market value. That's obviously why investors aren't interested in those. Now, looking at the foreclosure timeframes, we see the time to foreclose up just 1 day. Now, I expect this to go up in the future because, as I mentioned a minute ago, the time from the notice of default to notice of trustee sales went from 142 to 188 days. But looking at the properties that sold this month, on average, from the time their notice of default was filed until they were foreclosed, 225 days. With 188 days just to get to notice of trustee sale, expect that number to go up in the future. It's taking both the banks and third parties a little longer to sell their properties. Both of those are up slightly, 3.6% and 2% respectively. And I think that's primarily due to the fact that January and February were a little slow. Hopefully we see sales start to pick back up and those numbers go back down. Thanks for tuning in to this month's California Foreclosure Report. Until next time, thank you.